Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's Rabbi Lister here again with another shiur, another extended look at our parsha. And this week we're looking at parshat Tsav. I wanted to focus on chapter 6, verse 17. And it says there that God told Moshe to speak to Aaron and his children and say to them, "This is the law of the chatat, the sin offering. Bimkom asher tishachet ha'olah, tishachet ha'chatat lifnei Hashem." In the place where the burnt offering is offered, the olah offering, that's a lamb that was burnt entirely on the altar, in that place, tishachet ha'chatat, there should the sin offering be slaughtered as well. It shall be slaughtered before the Lord. It is holy of holies. Now, this raises a number of questions. First of all, it's curious that the offering of the olah seems to be more complete than the offering of the chatat. The olah was a burnt offering, and that was offered for improper thoughts, for failing to do the right thing, little things that are indiscernible. Whereas the chatat was, the sin offering, was offered for sins of commission, where one actually does something inadvertently, which the Torah says one mustn't do. You might have thought that the offering for a bad action would be worse than the offering for a bad thought. But in fact, it's the other way around. The olah offering is completely consigned to the flames of the altar, whereas the chatat, the sin offering, only part of it is put on the altar, and other parts of it are actually eaten by the Kohanim. So it seems that there is a more thorough dedication to God with the olah, the burnt offering, than there is with the sin offering. Why is that? And secondly, why is it that the Torah says that the sin offering is offered in the same place as the burnt offering? Why should it be in the same place rather than in a different place? And if it is in the same place, why not just come out with it and say it's offered in a particular place? Why does the Torah seek to compare the chatat, the sin offering's place, with the place of the olah, the burnt offering? So the Nesiv Sholem raises these questions and answers them in his usual amazing way. He starts off by saying that the olah, the burnt offering, was offered in the north of the innermost part of the temple, and the Hebrew word for north is tzafon. This is linked to the word tzafun, which means hidden, as we say in the Seder tzafun barech, that tzafun is the eating the afikoman matzah that was hidden away before barech, before we do benching. So the olah was offered in a place that is the north, but that word for the north has an implication of hidden. And here we have our first insight into the burnt offering. The burnt offering was offered for improper thoughts, for things that just weren't done, that were neglected to be done, things, like we said, that are less discernible. They are hidden sins. The chatat, the sin offering, is offered in the same place as the burnt offering, because the Torah is pointing out to us that sins of commission are based on sins in thought. It's when we have an improper thought that the source of sin will come. And when we have, sadly, the need to offer a sin offering, that is rooted in the bad thought for which a burnt offering atones. In fact, the Talmud in Yuma says that Hirhuri Avera Kashin Me Avera, that thoughts of sin are worse than the sin itself, because the sin itself is an action, but the action doesn't necessarily create sin, whereas a sinful thought is the root of the sin. That's where it begins. The heart is aflame with desire. It's regarded as burning up, and that needs to be atoned for specifically by the burnt offering, the lamb that is slaughtered and then consigned entirely to the flames, because we are fighting fire with fire here. Just as the heart is consumed with the fire of desire, so the burnt offering is consumed with the fire on the altar. In the light of this, we can understand the laws of Pesach as a paradigm for a struggle with sin. We have no place in our homes for sin. And sin it may be just a thought, it may be a sense of self-aggrandizement, of complacency, of smugness. It may be a sense that we just want to go with things in the natural way. And this is symbolized by chametz, by the slow, gradual leavening or fermenting process of grain. And just as when grain is made into a dough, the dough will rise over time, so too, somebody who has a sinful thought wants to engage with themselves in a natural way, not a supernatural spiritual way, but just in a natural way. They want to actually raise themselves up in nature and become just full-blown, unapologetic, natural people. That is demeaning for a human being. And so we take this symbol of sin, the chametz, and we get rid of it entirely from our homes. We search it out on the night before Pesach with a candle flame that symbolizes the light of the soul itself. And what we want to do is search out every little speck of forgotten chametz in our own souls. If there is something bad there, a tendency to be natural, to develop slowly into something that we want to be, to raise ourselves up instead of being raised up by God and His Torah, that's where the problem is, and that has to be rooted out, hunted down without mercy. We get rid of the chametz ideally by burning it. And here also we have the paradigm of fire fighting fire. Just as the heart can be aflame with desire, so we burn the chametz up in fire. And that is rather like the olah offering that is consigned to the flames. Here too we take our chametz, which symbolizes our tendency to be bogged down in nature and bogged down in self-aggrandizement, and we consign it to the flames. And we say that is not the way we wish to be. There is a further benefit to our fighting fire with fire. The rabbis tell us that punishment takes place in Gehinnom, commonly translated as hell, and this is often understood as being a place where one is burned in fire. That fire is not just flames coming out of logs. Rather, it's the flame of our own desire that we felt in our lifetime that comes back to haunt us after death. It is a mortifying thing for us to understand how we can be gripped by the flames of desire during our lifetimes. And that is shown to us in the spiritual clarity of the afterlife in Gehinnom. And we suffer not from a punishment imposed on us by God, but we suffer from the remembrance of the fire of desire that consumed us during our lives. But we can nullify that with the fire of olah, the fire of burnt offering, where instead of being consumed by the fire of desire, we hurl ourselves into the flame of God's love, and we become one with Him, aflame with love for Him, and we cancel the fire of sin with the fire of Torah, the fire of love. It emerges then that the Jewish idea of sin and how we deal with it is a remarkably empowering one. We don't need to feel weak in the face of sin. We don't need to feel that it is something that we cannot conquer or something that intimidates us. Rather, Torah empowers us to sort Torah out. And year by year, our ability to crush the sin within ourselves and extirpate it with the fire of Torah is reenacted every year with Pesach. It is a reaffirmation at this moment of national rebirth of the very heart of Jewish identity, our ability to stand up to sin, to face it down and sort it out. And we are chosen as Jews on this basis. We were made into Jews through the ridding of our homes and of ourselves of chametz, symbolizing sin, because our message to the whole world is one of this very message that we do not feel intimidated by sin. We feel able to deal with it, to sort it out, and purify ourselves away from it. It is sad that I'm still having to talk to you from my home, that we are all still pretty much confined to our own homes and unable to get out there into the world. But if I would dare to read the divine plan, I would say that with coronavirus, God is encouraging us all to focus on the spirituality in our own homes. He's making us stay here so very much that our attention is naturally focused on the workings of our families, on our conduct within our homes, on how kosher things are, on how beautiful Shabbat is, on how beautiful our prayer is without the support of the community. It is a time of introspection that has been put upon us because God is saying to us, perhaps, engage in introspection. Look at your home. Look at yourself. Search out the chametz in your home. Search out the chametz in your soul. As much as we do this successfully year on year, cleanse our homes of chametz and burn it in fire, so too we have the strength to cleanse our inner selves, our souls of sin, and make ourselves free of it, ridding ourselves of the wish to behave in a natural way, to follow things along in their natural process, to grow ourselves with things of this world. We are able to get rid of all that and approach God with the fire of His Torah and His love. Throw ourselves into that love and become better people. That is the message of Pesach for ourselves and a message that we seek to share with the whole world. I hope it's a message that will be an encouraging and empowering one at this desperately sad time. And please God, we should all live to see our freedom not only from our homes into the world, but our freedom from exile as we return to Israel with joy, with strength, with freedom from sin and all good things. Thank you for listening. Shabbat Shalom.